What's up, guys? This is Luminous, and today I'm going to be doing something that I've never really done before. This is kind of like a live. Generally, I don't do a lot of live stuff. A lot of my stuff are edited and over-edited, but today I'm going to do a live session, if you will, and going to be talking about heroes. And I don't decide a hero that I talk about. Since it's done live, I actually spent a couple of minutes with the live people, and they told me the hero that they want to talk about. So we took a big list of things and we narrowed it down, and it was Silencer. My first initial reaction was like, who cares about Silencer? Apparently the pro gamers, they don't care about Silencer, so why should we? But due to very popular demand, we're going to talk about Silencer as a hero. So this is not going to be your guide of any sense. It's kind of just me chilling around talking about hero, my experience with the hero, why he's not in the pro game or why he is in the pro game. And you could take it as a general guide, because I'm going to talk about skill builds, how to play him, things like that. But it's going to be unedited. It's going to be like impromptu. So it's just like my knowledge, however limited that might be, about the hero. So, and I think I'm going to do future editions of these. I'm kind of doing it for myself to keep me fresh for all of the heroes, because heroes change all the time. And also I think it'll help out some of the newer players. And since some people are mentioning Silencer, well, they care about the hero. Okay, I should stop. Alright, so we're going to talk about which, by the way, this is a nice background, I'm just saying. Alright, okay. Silencer as a hero, well, you guys know what he does, right? He silences. He's a intelligence support. Well, he could play as a semi-carry, but mostly he plays as a support. His best spell is his global, I guess. It has a very long cooldown. I assume you guys know what his spells do. And I think the easiest reason is to go into why he's not really picked in the pro game. The two big reasons I feel like he's not picked in the pro game is because, well, one, he is very, very squishy. I think you could be like level 16 and you could sit around 1000 HP without too much strength item. And if you want to use a very squishy hero like that as a damage dealer, which he can be with Glaives, he gets picked off way too easily. He's often compared to Destroyer because they kind of had that in-thing going on as a DPS dealer. But Destroyer is clearly superior. He has a pseudo disable. I'm talking about Destroyer here, who could banish, deals with lycanthrope pretty nicely. I'm talking about Destroyer here. What Silencer doesn't. The DPS output of Destroyer is way higher in terms of single target, and also with his ultimate. So when we're comparing strictly as a DPS dealer, Destroyer wins by far, and that's why we see Destroyer more in pro game and not so much Silencer. So what about his supporting capability, right? So we're assuming that now he's not going to be played as a DPS dealer, so more of on the support side. Then he doesn't have a stun, he doesn't have a slow. In a sense, he's a defensive hero in a sort, where they cast their spells first and then you silence, or you could kind of sort of initiate with global. But in a sense, I feel like he's a very defensive hero, but you're being defensive with no HP, so it's just a really odd combination. And also picture yourself in this scenario, right? You're playing a Silencer, 40 minutes in a game, you're winning, your team is winning really hard. Then as a Silencer, you're going to be great, because you're going to be choking them in a team fight, they can't do anything, you have Force F, whatever, or Mecha, whatever you might be getting. Then Silencer in that instance will be a great hero. Perfect. He's a really, really strong hero when you're winning. But then as a support, when you're losing, right, 40 minutes in you're losing, you're level like 9, and they're level 18, what does a Silencer do? Like, you silence for 3 seconds and they kill you. You curse and they cast a spell and they kill you. So like, and also when they push you, as Silencer you don't have any anti-push because you don't have AoE, you don't have any clear creeping ability, you're not an initiator, you can't really force a team fight. I mean, Global Silence is not, Avenge or Echo Slam or anything like that. So I feel like Silencer, the reason he's not picked too often is because when you're losing, he's a useless hero. You might as well be playing as 4. So I think that's the biggest reasons. As support, he's not too useful. As a semi-carry, he gets outshined by other heroes. So, but we definitely seen pro teams play him. So very rarely though. All right, so let's talk about. So I talked about like the general stuff. Let's talk about his laning. As a support, he could lane pretty much on the side lane fairly decently. In fact, his laning as a support is very decent. A lot of supports a lot of support players will actually pick curse with them, which is not bad, especially against certain lanes. Especially, if you see Svens, like, really useful heroes on the other side, or Shakers, you could safely go curse and really wreck up their game. You could even like trade mana with them, but since you're intelligence hero, you're probably clearing clarities. In fact, you're probably clearing more clarities than they are. You could use spam curse and kind of deal with the situation. And every one curse that you're throwing out, you're drawing a couple of spells from them. Assuming that you landed on 2 heroes, so mathematically you win out in that exchange. Personally, I'm a big fan of leveling Glaive, or at least put 1 level on Glaive, even as a support, and just harass like crazy. Because when you're Glaving, you don't draw creep aggro. It is an orb effect, or it's not orb effect, orb attack. So you could orb walk and not draw aggro. That's really nice for a support to have. How many times you're harassing with CM and you draw like 8 creeps on you, you get stunned and you die, right? If you get a Glaive on Silencer, that's going to be nice. But then if you get Glaive, right, it really slows down your last word. So it's a delicate balance. So the build that I usually get Glaive at, sometimes I get at 1, sometimes I get at 2, depending what they have. For example, if there's a heroes I really want to drain mana out, I get Curse at 1. But usually it doesn't matter too much. So you max Curse most likely by 7, and then you get Glaive at 2, and you get Curse at 4, and then you get Global at 6, sorry. And then you max last words after that. Sometimes you want to put more points into Glaive, but then I think that's more game-to-game situation, and then you could go with that. But yeah, in terms of laning, it's mostly on the side lane. There's no really lane preference. He sucks mostly in either lane. Again, if you want to go for the semi-carry silencer build, you could put him in the mid lane, but then that's By the way, if you guys have any questions, I'll take them at the end. Like any specific questions that you guys feel that I haven't addressed, so we'll go with that later on. So in terms of item, right, these are like generic items that you go for. Magic Wand, basic boots. Mecha is like the best item you could get on him. Well, maybe I'll take it back. I'll talk about why Mecha is great, but sometimes not the best item. Force Staff, I think, is absolutely necessary. Things like Django, anything that boosts your survivability is what you want. You kind of want to be in the center of the battle to proc your last word all the time, but then you also don't want to die. So it is so hard to... One of the biggest thing about Silencer is actually knowing the range of your last word to be near enough but far away, which you want to have an item build to kind of go around that. Don't be shy to get up a naked cloak, if you know what I'm saying. The cloak that reduces magical resistance. A lot of times I see teams try to spam him down, and they always underestimate what last word actually like kills their casting, and if you have a cloak on them, he survives a long time. Most teams I see try to burst down Silencer, and not actually try to hit him down, they try to burst him down, and cloak is very helpful in that regard. But things like Bracer, Force Staff, Treads, Mecha is great. And the reason I kind of don't like Mecha for a reason on Silencer, I mean, it's a great item, don't get me wrong. It just gives them even more incentive to focus you down. Like, you have last word to protect you. A lot of times you just get burst down. I don't even know how it happens. I can't even imagine it happening, but like, well, that's what last words does, right? It's supposed to protect you. But a lot of times I see Silencer kind of just get out of position and die. And you don't want to die too early with the mecha. And again, Silencer likes to stay back. And when you stay back, you're not the best mecha holder. At least that's my personal view on it. So I kind of like things like raw HP, Treads, Force Staff a little bit better, and then have your other support to hold the mecha, simply because it gives them more incentive to target other stuff, other people, and then that means more last word for you to proc around, right? So that's how I view his item build. Any late game luxury should involve things like Hex. You're not gonna get there, but if you're going for the semi-carry build, Hex is a great item choice. Yule Scepter is not bad, but this is there's no really special items on Silencer that you really need to get. Actually, on the support, you could get a Ghost Scepter. That's pretty decent. You can Ghost Scepter and Orb Walk within the Ghost Scepter, and that's actually pretty decent. Especially like when you're in a winning situation, where you actually afford Ghost Scepter, you could Ghost, and then just send next to the carry and glaive the hell out of them. That's pretty cool stuff. So that's a small tip that I could do with Silencer. And I think that's pretty much it for the skill build and item builds. And here comes the global part. Keep in mind that global costs an F ton of mana. Like, I mean an F ton of mana, especially level 16. And generally you don't have too much mana issue, but a lot of times I see Silencers always like, oh, let's cast Curse. Let's be fun in a team fight and cast Curse. Don't ever cast Curse and not have enough mana for global, because that's what you're picked for. You're picked for that global. And please, for the love of God, watch the team fight. Like, in fact, you should be even more, like, play Silencer like an initiator, even though he doesn't have a skill set to initiate, because you have to be faster than their initiator. If you see Avenge swap when they do, you silence right there, because if you don't, whoever she swaps is dead. You see a TIE Hunter comes in, whether he gets off the Ravage or not, silence. That's what you, like, your reaction rate have to be so fast, and I think that's another reason why he's so hard to play correctly. Like, more often than not, I have Silencer in my pub game, and like TIE Hunter comes in with Ravage and half her team is dead, and then they cast Silence. At that point, when you're losing, like back to what I said earlier, when you're losing, Silencer is one of the worst heroes to have, because he doesn't do anything. So like, the key to play a really good Silence is to silence faster than them. I think that sounds really like but that's kind of what it comes down to, heroes. Speaking of counters, they're like, Silencer's a crap hero. Like, you don't need counter. You could have your chicken look at him and he's dead. Really much. Like, just gank him, stun him, anything, and just initiate. Anything is fine. Like, he's not even a strong hero that requires a lot of counter. I mean, he's really good against certain hero. Like, he's really good against Enigma. In fact, he was picked as an Enigma counter back in 6.69 C days. But even then, he's not too often seen, right? So don't worry about that hero too much. If you're playing things like Silencer, or excuse me, sorry, if you're playing things like Puck, or if you're playing things like Enigma, and you're really afraid of the global, here's what you do, or here's what I've seen DGC did, right? He blinks in with Enigma, and he literally stands there. In fact, when he's standing there, he casts stuff like Malefice, he casts stuff like Demonic Conversion, he casts stuff like Midnight Pulse, because I'm sure you guys could picture it in your head, when Enigma's casting his stuff, he has a certain animation, right? And the same animation, it looks like exactly like the wind up of the black hole animation. I hope I'm making sense here. But that's what DGC does. He blinks in and he looks like he's casting black hole, but he doesn't. And more than enough times that draws out a global. Simply because, going back to what I said earlier, Silencer will always like to try to be faster than you, right? So you see Enigma blinks in, what's your reaction? You hit global. But he wasn't even trying to cast global, and then that's what time he pops his BKB, whatever else, and then just casts a black hole. So some ways to counter the Silencer is to try to play around his skill set, because again, Silencer is a reactionary hero, and it's more pressure on them than on you. So I feel like that's why he's such an easy hero to deal with. So the last thing to talk about is the pro and pub game. I kind of talked about this, throughout. I mentioned this. In terms of pro games, he's not picked too much as a carry. He is outshined by a lot of other in carries. As a support, well, he doesn't have slow, he doesn't have stuns, he doesn't have counter pushing ability. In pub games, though, everything changes. I think he's actually a very, very decent pub carry, because of a lot of times you're out of position pub. He global and TP, like, that might be a waste. It is a 2 minute and 40-second cooldown, but hey, global TP, seen that a lot, done that a lot. He's a great carry in that instance, because he's a great carry in pubs because it's so easy to farm up to a hex. You hex one guy and you just kill. It's very easy. Again, in pub games, the enemy team is very uncoordinated. You pop global with your teams, you get 3 kills and you push a Rax. He's a very, very good hero in pub games, but that's a different story. And of course, in pub games, you max glaive. You don't mess around with that curse BS. You just max glaive and you go. So I think I cover a lot of, or at least everything I could think about Silencer. So feel free to have any questions or concerns, or maybe if I'm missing an item that you guys want me to address. Have I talked about why he's not picked too much nowadays, other than the fact that he sucks? I feel like Silencer also punishes people that are out of position, and in pro games nowadays, most teams are so good in positioning. So I don't. Yeah. Do we have any questions? I think we've seen no questions. I'll chill around. And why does last word mechanics not stop channeling spells after they're casted? I'm sorry. Let me have Ice Frog on speed dial real fast. Where's my phone? Let me call Ice Frog real fast, okay? And then I'll ask him why is. Meanwhile, what is your opinion on Ice Frog's not picking up? Alright, I'll call him back. I'll get back to you guys on that, right? What is my opinion on Rod of Atos on Silencer? I don't know. I feel like for 3k gold, that's 2 bracer and a 4 staff. I'd rather have that. For 2k gold, that's a drums and a cloak, and plus something else. I'd rather have that. I feel like a 4 staff is. That's a mecha plus 2 bracers. I don't know. It's a good item. I just feel like Silencer needs so much survivability, and Rod of Atos gives you some of that. I don't think it's enough. So, but I'm always a big hate on Rod of Atos. Necrobook is better than Rod of Atos, actually. No, take that back. Necrobook's decent. Necrobook's decent. Any other questions? I'll answer like one more question, and then we'll go from there. So as people are typing the questions, yeah, I think the reason I thought of to do this kind of like quote unquote project is because it's just easy. It keeps me updated, keeps me fresh, makes me think a little bit about Silencer, because if you don't put me on the spot like this, I don't be like, Silencer. And I'm not saying in any mean I'm doing a very adequate job in this, but hopefully I get better as I go about it. Why is Silencer a counter to Invoker? I don't think he's a counter to Invoker. Silencer annoys Invoker, but I feel like, well, especially Crosswex Invoker, right? You're so far away from, like, you could even do stuff outside of last word range. If against a Silencer that's too in range, he gets stunned and killed. Against a, because his last word has to be in range proc, and most of the time Silencer is not in range. Or if he is in range, you can kill him very easily. So I don't feel like he's a great counter to Invoker. At least that's my opinion. He annoys Invoker, but he's not a counter. Right, I mean, global it's fine. Global hurts Silencer, hurts Invoker big time. But, like, unless Invoker is in the middle of 3 enemy heroes and then he get global, And even so, like, Invoker's so fast with 4 staff, face boots, wax points, he could probably get out of anything, just even without spells. He's just so damn quick. So I feel like Silencer is not really a strong counter. You guys might disagree, and that's fine. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed this. That was to live people, and I'll put this on YouTube for other people to watch. And that's it. Until next time, Luminous signing off.